friends, my name is Linda Moon and this is Kelly Gentry, and you are watching the Grow Curriculum Deep Dive for our final series of Grow Kids Volume 6. If you've been following our recommended scope and sequence, it's a series called Staycation. For the next few minutes, we're going to give you a big picture overview of all the things you can expect during this series so you're better prepared to teach it, but we're also going to take an in-depth look at some of the specifics of the series that you definitely want to check out.
If you're a Grow user, welcome back to another deep dive. Our goal is to give you a head start in preparing for this series, but if you're not a Grow user, that's cool. As always, feel free to steal some of these ideas. But in case you're new and this is your first ever deep dive, we are going to give you a look at the series overview. Then we will look at the theme, then the structure, and then some final tips so that you will have everything that you need to get this staycation started.
All right, let's jump right in. Staycation is a series about the stories in Genesis about Abraham and his family. Now, I know it's a little bit ironic that the series is called Staycation given the nomadic nature of Abraham and his family's experience, but the title speaks to the fact that they had to trust God and follow wherever God led and had to make a home on the go wherever they ended up.
In week 1, kids will learn about God calling Abram to leave his home in Genesis 12 and 13. He trusts God to lead him so much that he lets his nephew Lot take the first pick when it comes to which way they should go. God promises to bless Abram and his descendants, which actually include us. But God's blessings aren't meant to be kept to ourselves. That's why this week's big idea says, God blesses us so we can bless others.
In week 2, we look at Genesis chapters 21 and 22, which is the story of how Abraham and Sarah were given a son, Isaac, and then Abraham was tested to give up this very gift. Not gonna lie, now that I'm a parent, this story hits real different than when I heard it as a kid in Sunday school. Yes, Abraham had great faith, but we want to focus more so on the compassionate nature of God and how God understood Abraham's great love for his precious son and provided an alternative sacrifice for Abraham to offer up instead. So the big idea is God always shows us compassion.
That brings us to week 3, which is the story in Genesis chapter 25 of how younger bro Jacob basically scams firstborn Esau out of his birthright. This story shows that even among family members, we can end up hurting feelings or feeling disappointed sometimes. So this week, encourage kids to turn to God when they face situations like that by teaching them the big idea, we can trust God when it's hard to trust each other.
Then in week 4, we're in Genesis chapter 28, the story of Jacob's dream at Bethel with angels ascending and descending on a heavenly stairway. And in this dream, God reiterates the promise that had been made to his grandfather Abraham, right? This assurance from God comes at a time when Jacob was all alone, estranged from his brother, and far from home. And so that reminds us of our big idea, which is we always belong in God's family.
And finally, in week 5, we close the loop on the tension between Esau and Jacob with the story in Genesis chapters 32 and 33. Jacob approaches the reunion with Esau with extreme caution, knowing that his brother must still be furious with him, but to his surprise, Esau seeks reconciliation and not revenge. That's why this week's big idea is we can make peace with others.
And our memory verse this month prompts us to learn from these stories and show kindness to our families, whether biological or chosen. And it says, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith, Galatians 6:10. All right, now it's time to talk about the theme, which you all know by now. It's kind of Kelly and my favorite thing, and we love dressing up to show you a little snippet of what it can look like. Clearly, Kelly and I have very different visions of what it means to staycation. She is actually on a vacation at home, whereas I'm just lounging. But that's the theme this month. It's vacation at home because, like we mentioned earlier, Abraham and his family made a home wherever they went. And, you know, we're all probably pros at staycationing by now with all of our lockdown experience and such. But Kelly, tell us what we can do to bring the staycation vibe to our ministry spaces.
So what you can't see is I'm vacation on the top, but I have my slippers on. So staycation all throughout your outfit. Of course, you can do any of these fun dress ups on Sundays when you are teaching this series. But Linda, for this vibe, I have two words for you: pillow fort. Okay? There is so much you can do for this series. We recommend using all the pillows, all the blankets that you can get your hands on. Grab all of the clothespins and make your own stage into a giant pillow fort. We have in the programming guide recommendations for sleeping bags, beanbag chairs, and as a little nod to the series, we recommend that you even add little welcome mats outside each of your classroom doors because you're welcoming them home to the staycation. How fun is that?
Oh, that is so cute. Welcome home. Oh, that's so cute. Well, thank you, Kelly. As always, your programming ideas are genius. And we also know that a lot of you out there are also geniuses. So please share with us how you decided to deck out your spaces for staycation. But if you're kind of lost, go ahead and check out that programming guide that does have all of these decoration ideas and other ideas like crafts, snacks, prizes, giveaways, all that fun stuff. Okay, now we are going to take a look at the structure of the series. Now, those of you who are Grow Kids veterans, you know that there are some things that stay the same, like our teaching is always broken up into three major sections, which is the what section, the so what section, and the now what section. In the what section, this is where we get to help kids. We welcome them, and then we tell them a little bit about what we're going to do today without completely giving it away to keep kids curious. And then in the so what section, that's where we do all of our teaching. So we talk about the main Bible story. We talk about a secondary passage for those of you who are able. We have our big idea reveals, object lessons, teaching videos. That's where all of that happens. And then in the now what section, that's when we go a little deeper into more of an application piece. So how this relates to them, how they can use this in their lives, and how they can know these truths impacts them in their daily lives. So those are the things that tend to stay the same in our teaching.
And while some of these things stay the same, hopefully you've seen that in every series and even within each week of a series, there are different structures within that. So with these deep dives, we want to help you see the structure that makes each series unique so that you actually have a much better grasp on it before you teach it.
So we want to talk about two building blocks in staycation that are unique to this series, and those are the memory verse and the small group activity.
And we're going to start with the memory verse building block. We provide the same memory verse for the entire month, and in order for kids to remember it better, we give you a sign language video that you can use also. So Linda, what are some of the ways that kids can practice this memory verse throughout the month?
So yes, make sure you do check out that sign language video. It's created by our wonderful friend, Sunny Brown. But in addition to that, we are going to propose a few fun ways that you can help kids practice a memory verse this month. And this time it's using one prop, and you get to use it for the entire week. So what you do is you take a deck of cards and you write one word of the memory verse on it, on each of the cards. And you can do it on a very cheap deck so you don't feel like you're wasting it, or you can like write it on paper and like tape it on and peel it off later. So in week one, you're going to create the deck and you're going to write the words on the cards. You're going to have kids shuffle through and try to find the words and put the words in order once they learn it. Week two, they're going to try building a house of cards and try putting the verse in order that way. You can challenge it up by creating a second deck and make it a race of some sort. In week three, they're going to do a scavenger hunt for the cards that you will have taped underneath chairs before they arrive. In week four, you're putting the cards in order face down, and you will reveal the first three cards one at a time and then have kids predict the next word. So basically you're like fanning out the cards, right? And then you'll show them like the first three, and then you'll be like, oh, look, what comes after this one? So it helps kids retain that. And then lastly, you're going to tape it to their foreheads. Please use painter's tape so it doesn't stick too hard. And then the kids are going to walk around and try to silently put themselves in order.
Those are all super fun, super simple, but very entertaining, especially if you're at home on a staycation. So, moving on to the small group activity, we provide a ton of different building blocks that you can do in large group or small groups. But for the small group activity, we usually try to provide something hands on to review what the kids have learned that day. Linda, what would you like to tell us about the small group activities for this month?
So for staycation, it's a little different. Usually we try to provide a printable or a craft that kids can do to take home as kind of a keepsake of what they learned that day. But we're doing something different because it's staycation and we're championing this idea that you've been stuck at home, but we want to bless others, which is our week one big idea. And we want to carry that theme throughout the rest of the month. So they're doing this activity called Blessing in a Bag. So each week kids are going to decorate and then add items to a bag that they'll fill up week by week, and then they'll eventually give it away at the end of week 5. And so each week you'll see that you're asking kids to bring in a small item that they can contribute, like soap, socks, non-perishable foods. And so you can notify families in advance about what to bring each week. We've also included a flyer for you that you can pass out so parents won't forget. But we also suggest you get some extra of each item needed on hand. So kids who missed out before, didn't get the memo, or just couldn't bring the items, they won't be excluded from this activity. So at the end of this kind of buildable activity, they'll have a fully stocked blessing bag with some basic essentials and personalized notes from your kids.
I love it. That is so much fun. So, we have covered the overview, we've covered the theme and the structure. Now, Linda and I just have a couple miscellaneous tips to help you make the most of the rest of this series.
All right. Tip number 1 is to use the preschool crafts. Because the small group activity this month is more about making something to give away, I know some of you really want to create something that kids can take home to help them remember what they learned. So go ahead and check out our preschool track because there is a craft each week. And I know some of you are like, oh, our kids are too old for this, but there are very easy ways you can trend it up for the older kids. And I think they'll have a fun time anyway because making is fun.
Yes, tip number 2 is actually schedule a family staycation. We know families are busy, there are lots of things going on, but we would encourage you to encourage families to block out time on the calendar this month to actually have a staycation at home, right? Whether that's like a Friday after school, all the way through Sunday morning when they get out to go to church, whatever time works for families, encourage them to just spend some time together. You could provide them with the opportunity to download the Grow Games and Icebreaker app where they could do some fun games at home together. They could do movie night, they could do game night, anything to get families together at home, spending time together, engaging in conversation is a win in our book.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're not sure that families will follow through on that, you can go ahead and make that a mini event with your ministry and do it at church together and do a giant non-sleepover sleepover. Friends, it has been so much fun going through each series of Volume 6 with you. And like we said earlier, if you have been following our recommended scope and sequence, this is our final series for Volume 6. But fear not, there is another volume coming. Yay! So Volume 7 has launched. And so we hope that some of you guys are able to download it and see all the fun stuff we have in store. But you guys, Volume 7 is amazing, and it's amazing because you give us feedback and you tell us how it works or doesn't work in your ministry, and we really try to incorporate all the things you tell us because we want to make things that you love and that work for you. And so make sure you check out Grow Kids Volume 7. And here's a bonus tip. Save your staycation decorations and props like those pillow forts, because for those of you who are continuing on with us to Grow Kids Volume 7, thank you and excellent choice. The first series in this new volume is one called In Your Dreams, which follows the story of Joseph. But here's the fun part. The theme for In Your Dreams is nighttime. So some of your staycation decor could probably be recycled in the following month. So we're really excited about it. Kelly, are you excited about Volume 7?
I am so excited. I like think it's the best volume of Grow ever. The themes are so unique. They are so creative, and the way that our Grow Kids content team and our contributors have written these Bible stories to connect with these themes. It is going to be so much fun for kids to not just experience, but it'll also be really tangible to help them remember what they've learned at church.
Yes. So we hope you are just as excited. Once again, reach out, let us know how staycation went for you. You can always find us on Facebook at Stuff You Can Use, a children's ministry community. You can tag us on Instagram in your photos and reach out and let us know what you think of Grow. We love connecting with you, especially Kelly. She's our lead strategist. And we have so many other wonderful strategists that you can talk to on this team. And we're just here to make sure that you have the best kids ministry ever. Anyway, friends, this has been fun. Thank you. Have a wonderful staycation. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.